over a 2-year period, I basically did nothing but wake up, drink, pass out, wake up, drink, pass out, probably going through 2 to 3/5 a day. I just started drinking a lot, and I didn't want to live anymore.
What's going on, you guys? My name is Noah, and I am here with a friend and our guest for this video. His name is Chris. Something I've wanted to do for a very long time is move away from simply sharing my story with mental health struggles, low T, with addiction issues, and hand over some time to someone else to share their experience going through struggle in whatever capacity. Chris has a really harrowing story that he's going to share with us. He's going to talk about what life was like before. He's going to talk about what happened that led him to a breaking point in his life with addiction, among other things, perhaps some mental health struggles. We've never had this conversation. And then he's going to talk about what his life is like now, what he has done to change his life, and maybe even some of the things he struggles with in sobriety. My hope for this video is that if you are watching and you happen to be going through something difficult, we can do or say something that is going to identify with you, that'll help you realize you're not alone, that you're worth it, and that you deserve support and help if you happen to need it. And if you know someone who might be struggling and you identify with this video, please don't hesitate to send this video to them, to give them encouragement and to give them some oneness of mind with other people that understand some difficulties. So without further ado, this is Chris. Chris, I'm glad you're here.
Thanks, Noah.
Yeah.
How's it going?
It's going really well. I'm pumped for this.
That was a very impressive first take.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, thank you. Tell us a little bit about how you grew up, maybe. We don't have to go into tremendous detail, but I would like to set the stage in whatever capacity as to what led you to addiction issues and some mental health issues, as far as you know, as far as you can tell. So take us back as early as you think would be relevant with that in mind.
Sure. Well, there's a lot. My life has been one filled with a lot of trauma and a lot of I would say not normal family environments. It's something I've talked about a lot, obviously, especially in therapy, and it's something I've thought about a lot, but it's also something that I've had to learn how to basically not harbor anger or hate or frustration or anything, and actually just get to a place of peace. So I grew up without a dad and a single mom. And my dad, the last time I saw him when I was a child was, I think I was 2 years old. And he, they're young, right? Like my mom was 19 when she had me. Gosh, I might be wrong about that. But she was very young. She was. I think I could do the math, but I can't. But she was very young when she had me, and obviously so was my father. They're both in the Air Force at the time, so I was born in the military. And it's just really young to have a child. Yeah. And they're still kids. Like 20-year-old me was still a child, and I think that's all humans, right?
Yeah, I agree. Older I get, the more I agree.
yeah, you will. Older and older. Yeah. It's always reflective. But the not having a father, military does not pay very well. So my mother worked full time in the Air Force, and then also worked at night. Secondary jobs, including like Burger King, clubs as a waitress, anything to make ends meet. But you can't really afford childcare either. So I spent the most of my childhood alone.
Do you not have siblings?
No siblings from my mother and father. So I'm an only child between my mother and father, and all of my early discoveries of even myself or like who I was all started probably like at 3 or 4 years of age, because I'm just alone and doing my own things. Now I did have babysitters off and on, but I also had some very violent babysitters. So I had because my mom is also in the military, you're forced to do TDYs, tours of duty, where you're gone for a year, and generally you're not allowed to bring your family for those events. So I was left a few times as a young child between the ages of 5 and 7 with a babysitter that tortured me is the best way I could describe it. All of my experiences, because of my traumas, helped me get into a place of always kind of trying to act more about or try to think about how I can fit in with my environment.
Yeah.
Which is funny because initially that looks like you have high empathy, and it's not really the truth. The truth is that I'm being dominated by fear,
Yeah.
and because of that, I'm working to just basically fit in with wherever I'm at.
Mm-hmm.
So you end up living a life, a lot of lies and a lot of, pretending to be someone or something that you're not, just so that somebody respects you and trusts you and becomes not a threat, right? And that's kind of a weird thing.
Very weird thing. And I'm curious, how did some of those formative experiences that were negative translate into your teen years? When was the first time, outside of maybe putting on a mask or adapting or modulating to fit whatever criteria necessary, sounds like you're saying, to be okay, pardon the wording, what part of your story started to include an abject reach for something to change the way you felt?
My mom was also a very violent parent. So
We're talking about like spankings and stuff?
every single day. It didn't really matter, and this is another reason I believe, don't have kids in your early 20s, because you're going to be angry, and
That's a profound statement.
you don't want an angry parent. And anybody who has a sibling that was maybe born when their parent was in their early 30s, compared to the parent in the early 20s, is going to have a dramatically different experience.
Parents are just more calm then.
They are, and
Yeah.
they're more thoughtful,
Yeah.
because their brains have developed more.
Yeah.
Uh,
They're potentially not in the same financial stress that they may or may not have been in. Yeah.
Got it. Life, everything changes.
Right.
And so I always say that I had angry mom. A lot of just getting hit, a lot of what is torture, being left alone, and a lot of feelings of abandonment.
So what was little you thinking a lot leading into your teen years? I mean, I can't recall for the life of me. I remember abject feelings from my childhood. My mom happened to have been in a lot of surgeries. She was always sick. It was our job as kids to not upset mom. Mommy's sick, mommy's not doing well. My mom got angry a lot when she was in her active addiction. She's been open about that. It's not an anonymity thing. But I just remember having to make sure I didn't do anything
Walking
to
on
disrupt
eggshells.
the home.
Yeah.
And that was really hard for me as a kid. And it sounds like you went through a very, very difficult experience that is different from mine, in that I didn't have, I think I was swatted a couple times, but physical abuse isn't a part of my story. It sounds like it was for you.
Very much so.
Yeah.
Broken ribs, busted eardrums,
It's awful.
telling lies to the doctors. How did both of your ears get holes in their eardrums? And me saying, I was carrying a box and coming up with some nonsense story.
Yeah.
And then my mom getting talked to and getting arrested.
Did that lead to more violence at home?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
And more shame and guilt, because that's how that generation especially really dealt with stuff, was to tell you how you're a terrible person.
Yeah.
And a lot of just so much shaming. It was just nonstop. The part that I haven't brought up yet is there's a lot of alcoholics in my family. And my grandmother, whom I had interactions with on and off and even lived with them for a while, was a massive alcoholic. Since the time she was a teenager, she was drinking at least a fifth of whiskey a day.
Wow.
And when you grow up around an alcoholic, you never know who you're going to get. And that's I understand the walking on eggshells part, because you could do nothing and they're going to get mad at you for
100%.
things you don't understand.
I mean, alcoholics are wildly detached from how their behavior impacts other people. I know I was.
Yeah, no, I was too. The other thing that was a bummer, I was out of my mom's place, and now I'm in an environment of alcoholism, which I was not previously with my mother.
Gotcha.
But my stepdad was. an alcoholic. So that was my actual first experience living with it, notwithstanding being around my grandmother occasionally or staying with her for long periods of time. But it hadn't clicked with me that alcohol was a thing that was causing some of this. My aunt's house was kind of a halfway home for everybody. So anybody who had problems, you know, her kids' friends, etc., they were coming in and out, lots of drugs, lots of drinking, living with my aunt and my uncle, and being angry. I was not an easy kid to be around, and also you know, being intelligent and being a problem solver is the thing that I am very much so, as a problem solver. So I'll think about how to do something and get away with it, which isn't always going to work, but it gets me in trouble.
Yeah.
But I did have good friends.
And up to this point, had you still not ingested alcohol before?
So I have not.
So
But
we're 14, 15?
yeah, you'd be surprised when I started drinking, actually. It happened very late.
Okay.
But the personality's always been there. What I was doing was smoking cigarettes a lot.
Got it.
But the situation in my aunt and my uncle's house was not great either. My uncle was also type 1 diabetic, so he would have diabetic reactions frequently, which is like being around a drunk person who's not going to remember what they're doing. It's a drunk person.
Right.
They get physically violent at times. And he's a big guy. He's 6'4", you know, 200 pounds, very strong.
Yeah.
And so it was another violent atmosphere, but different than being punched and beat. It was just more lots of getting thrown around, and people wrestling and tackling you.
Forgive me for interrupting.
You're good.
Did you find yourself tense at home, or were you in your own world, in your own zone? Like, had you just been so accustomed to what was happening that
It's just normal life.
it just became normal life? Yeah.
Yeah, I would get angry, like when I had to sleep to go to school, because you know you get in trouble for not getting good grades or whatever, and then you get, you know, you're like, well, I can't sleep because you know Uncle Johnny comes home blaring the Bee Gees on an 8-track at 2 o'clock in the morning, and then he drags me out of bed by my leg down the stairs and wants me to arm wrestle him.
Jesus.
You know.
Well, how was your self-esteem at this time? How was, I mean,
Terrible.
Yeah.
So you don't. I mean, I never even really thought about myself the way I looked or anything until really late. Like, and when I say really late, I'm going to say 2 years ago. And the reason for that is because of the environments that I'm in all the time. I have to be a chameleon. So with the type of trauma that I have, I'm very aware of the room. It doesn't mean I always read it 100% correctly, but I'm very aware of things that are probably going to escalate. And well, trauma can cause all sorts of different reactions in humans, especially, you know, from kids and on. My reaction to this whole thing was, I never want to treat someone like this because of how horrible it makes me feel.
Yeah.
Right. And so that also made me someone who wants to de-escalate most everything.
I see.
But
so you weren't very good, I imagine, at advocating for yourself.
No.
Yeah.
It was more placating, fitting in.
What does placating mean?
To make them happy, to say that they're right. Oh, you're right. I'm so sorry. I should not have done that.
Yeah.
I will be quieter when I come in. I didn't mean to do that. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to adjust the thermostat. Even if I didn't, like, I learned at a young age, sometimes I just get in trouble for something I didn't do, and there was no debating it.
That just brought up a memory. A teacher called home to my parents, if I'm not mistaken, and said, we're not sure why, but Noah is apologizing for everything. It was something I did when I was younger, as I would essentially apologize for the air I was breathing. I would just assume I was doing something wrong.
Trying to defuse the room.
And I would say sorry for everything. And I remember how strange it was the first time someone with a higher elevated consciousness as far as emotional awareness, intelligence, experience all combined was like, hey, why don't we save our apologies for when we actually have violated someone's rights, when we've done something wrong. And it was a weird thing to consider, and it took me a while to piece together how my childhood impacted that fear-based behavior, that I was always thinking there was something wrong and there was something bad about me, and I needed to fix mom, and I needed to fix the situation that was on me. I think they call it magical thinking. Let's get out of your teen years if we can, unless there's something really, I really do want to get into when active addiction started for you, and just kind of where that took you, and I'm really interested and curious about that.
Because of who I am and my work ethic. I got into a really good job at a high-tech company, and I did very well there, and I spent 20 years there.
Wow.
But I was also married and had a child, and I was married to someone that I was not attracted to.
When did you get married?
I got married in 2000. Addiction for me most certainly started with food.
Okay.
So all through my 20s, I was eating a lot. Got to over 300 pounds.
That's right.
So I'm 6'3". And there was a moment in time where my wife at the time looked at me, and I was sitting on a chair with a bowl of salsa. Every night was a bowl of salsa mixed with cheese and sour cream, heat it up in the microwave, mix it up, and then
Eat
a whole
chips.
entire bag of chips,
Yeah.
right? And
How old are you here?
this is in my late 20s. Like, so this went all through my 20s.
All through your 20s.
My
So you're
diet
eating
was
to feel
basic-
better?
Oh yeah, pizza, chicken wings, like not eating healthy at all, not really cooking my own food.
Yeah.
Just eating garbage. But I'm also like, I'm being very successful at work.
Okay.
And I'm having a good time there, and I'm also learning a lot, and I'm getting, I grew up on the streets and didn't graduate high school. I didn't get my GED until I was in the military, because that's when they force it.
Got it.
Right. But I did not have a degree, and I was able to get a job at a high-tech company as a software engineer.
Okay.
So just sometimes I feel like just dumb luck
Sure.
that those things happen, but it's also because of the relationships that I can build. Through my 30s, things were going really good, but work was getting more and more stressful, and my home life was getting more and more stressful because my son is now getting to the age where he's starting to struggle in school, and he's starting to exhibit behaviors that I don't know how to deal with.
When's the first time you had a drinking experience that you went like, okay, something's different, something's on, you found relief, you found escape, whatever you might attach to that? Like, when did it get different? What's different about you drinking in your early or mid 40s? Is that when this really took off?
Yeah.
Yeah, that was different than you having some drinks when you were younger, because when you were younger, you could easily posit that you were under.
I'd drink one thing and as soon as I got a buzz, I was done, because I knew that was when I was going to lose the ability to think.
So what was different in your early 40s that would lead to what you were going to share, which is a pretty wild, destructive relationship with alcohol?
So this, the person that I was hanging out with, it brought a sense of freedom that I'd never had before. A sense of it's okay to lose control. And like my view on alcoholism, which was I'll never be a worthless alcoholic, suddenly changed to, hey, it is really awesome, pretty fun drinking. So I had some friends that were drinking, and I was having lots of great experiences while drinking. And so there was like lots of positivity in it.
Yeah.
And honestly, I drank like mostly controlled for a good number of years.
How do you describe, what does controlled mean for you? Because I think different people control in different ways.
Yeah, so the basic guidelines, right, are no more than like what is it, 1.5 glasses of wine or one mixed cocktail.
So you're talking
or
about
two
like the
beers.
standard.
Like this is standard, yeah.
And you stuck to that.
Yeah, and it wasn't that I was trying to do that for a guideline. It was more of I wasn't drinking every day, but then I eventually started drinking beer every night, but I was only having a couple beers. But I was also brewing the beer, so sometimes it's hard to even contemplate or be aware of how much you're drinking when
Right,
it's
'cause
coming out of a
ABV can
5-gallon
change.
yeah,
Oh.
and it's just coming from a 5-gallon pail, and sometimes you're like, oh, holy shit, I went through that 5 gallons in 2 days.
Yeah.
Right? But, oh, well, my friend's drinking from it too. So, like, that's going on. So my drinking was accidentally increasing. And it was then also, I didn't realize at the time. I feel like I did realize it, but just didn't want to accept it. I started to have, like, a harder time doing things that used to be easy. So,
Like what?
Dealing with people at work, controlling my emotions,
Gotcha.
staying calm in things, not getting, like, I'm a passionate person, but not getting angry. Instead, passion becomes anger suddenly, and people were like,
Noticing.
dude, hey, wow, like, man, when you were in that meeting, that you got really aggressive in there. Are you okay? It's like, you've never acted like that before.
Interesting.
Which that brought about a bunch of shame feelings.
Sure.
So
It's probably harkened back to your past.
absolutely.
Yeah.
And that, at the same time of my child having issues at school, I also start having issues with my wife at the time. and it's all going like really horribly. There's like all this, and then I'm also having issues with my best friend who had met somebody, and as is typical when you know, you meet somebody, you kind of like, you're going to disappear for a while because he got, you know, was really crazy for this woman, and this woman hated me. Probably because of what I represented or whatever. Also because I'd get drunk and just be a fucking asshole. I'd say the meanest, dumbest shit, right? And it's like, yeah, I would remove myself from that situation too.
Sure.
But in the process, I ended up losing my best friend, which was the only positive thing I had for me at the time.
Yeah.
So I had this sudden feeling of I lost my best friend. I lost like my marriage is going to shit. And I don't know if I even want to fix it, but I don't know how to deal with it. My son is struggling in school, but I don't know what to do about that. Like, and we're in therapy, counseling, all this shit. Nothing's happening, but I'm also continuing to drink. And now, because of the sadness, the drinking is starting to turn into when I get home from work, I want to turn off. Because I'm tired of thinking, because all of my thinking is no longer creating solutions. Everything's just getting worse. Every choice I made things worse. So it's like, well, then why make a fucking choice at all? So I would drink to pass out. And very quickly, starting in 2015, so I'm 40 years old, and I start to realize that every day I'm waking up, and now I'm sweating a lot more because you wake up and you're
detoxing.
You got it halfway through the day, shaking, and then.
And how many standard drinks a day would you say you're drinking at this point?
Probably close to half a fifth of whiskey a day.
Half a fifth, so 9 to 10 standard drinks, 12, 11 standard drinks a day?
It ramped really, really fast.
That's what it sounds like.
I had a lot of other things going on, lots of depression and stress that I was not dealing with in a healthy way. I wasn't exercising anymore. And I was now suddenly gaining weight really quickly again too.
Alcohol can take on such an incredibly pivotal role in a person's mind who has a proclivity for alcoholism so fast. And it can replace so many things that are clearly more important so quickly. And then I'll speak for myself, but before I knew it, as I'm sitting here just sort of listening and reflecting and connecting to your story, I'm not even sure what my motivations are being personally entirely driven by. Like, I think I know what's going on, but I'm only able to get some perspective when I'm sober. Otherwise, I'm just trying to put together pieces of something that's so complex, and I'm not really adequately equipped to do it.
That's when you need professional help.
Yeah, exactly. That's when you need professional help, and that's when alcohol is fixing the problem it's creating. Until for me, it stopped fixing the problem it was perpetuating,
and making everything worse.
Way worse.
Because
at that point, forgive me. Last thought before you continue. Would you say is this a couple years into your drinking? 3 years?
So I would say around 2008. Say about 2011, 2008 to 2011 is when I started to actually drink for the first time, but I was having a good time doing mixed cocktail parties because I loved making drinks. So I could be a bartender and not drink for a night, no problem.
So you had a couple years where it was working for you fine, you might say. When did it switch from, okay, I want to drink to I have to drink?
That's the checkout part that I brought up previously.
Got it.
That's the when I hit a set of events in my life that there was no positivity anymore. And no matter how I thought about things, I couldn't seem to solve them. I was very angry, and I was not processing my anger in a healthy way. And that's when I started drinking. And then, of course, when you drink, you also start lashing out. Right. So basically, became my grandmother. And
when did it get weird physically? When did you start having oh God, I'm having some scary physical issues? And of course,
that's 2015 every day. Waking up and going to work and trying to hide I would carry a towel around and be sweating, and I don't know how you hide that. You can't, right? But it wasn't enough to make me stop, and nobody says anything, even though they're all thinking it. But even then, I'm still doing good at work, which is fucking insane to me, to be honest.
Isn't that wild? I think about this all the time. I'm newly sober again. I'm very inspired by your story. Thank you. I'm newly sober again, and I reflect back, even being in my first 3 months, which I am, coming up on 90 days. I'm like, how did I even do any of the stuff the plates that I was trying to spin? mind you, they were breaking all over the place, but it's still kind of absurd what I was able to juggle to whatever degree I was juggling it, being as sick as I actually felt,
Yeah.
and being as emotionally tormented as I
Yeah.
actually was. It's just, I think it's ridiculous what we as alcoholics are capable of enduring
Yeah.
at our own hands, so to speak.
And we have so much guilt and shame about the whole thing because of it's funny, like we don't really have a societal acceptance for it, but we do,
Yeah.
right? Like it's okay to party, and it's okay to joke about being an alcoholic,
Yeah.
but nobody really wants to be around an alcoholic.
No.
Right? And that's
You have
the thing.
you have great little expressions. No one actually wants to be around an alcoholic.
Yeah, I mean,
Were you drinking alone
don't-
mostly?
Oh yeah. So that's where it really, like, when things really started to go bad, I started to ramp up my drinking, and at one point my ex-wife, who was very concerned, she's like, you need help. And I was like, whatever, fucking, I don't care, you're just trying to hurt me too.
Yeah.
Because I had lost, well, I did not know it at the time, but it's the abandonment part. I have really bad abandonment issues. So when I lost my best friend, that was sort of the straw that broke the camel's back.
Yeah.
And it's almost like I willed the environment after that to make everybody leave me. And then I could say it was their fault, right? Like there's just typical, just shitting on Chris. And and that depression led me just into drinking heavily and heavier. And it ramped up so quickly that my ex had said, you need help. I went to the doctor. She went to come with me, and I said, you can't go in there with me. I'm not letting you in there, because I wasn't ready to face it yet. And I told my doctor that I was an alcoholic, which I was terrified to do, by the way.
Had you ever done that before?
No, and I had been seeing the same doctor since I was like 22 years old, and like he really liked me, and like we did really well together. But
And do you have any physical symptoms at this point?
these days?
No.
Oh.
At that point, you were in there. What was your body experiencing?
Oh yeah, high blood pressure.
Okay.
Tachycardia.
What's tachycardia? Is that heart
that's
arrhythmia?
fast heart rate. Yep. So my resting heart rate was like between 95 and 115. And you should also know at this time I got myself introduced to cocaine.
Oh,
so
wow.
cocaine on top of alcohol is a very nasty combination.
Yeah.
And so I was like literally cycling with doing coke, drinking until I passed out, waking up and repeating on the weekends.
On the weekends, okay.
Yeah, and then,
your drinking is how much volume-wise?
At this point, I'm probably doing a fifth a day.
Okay, fifth a day. You're starting to experiment with coke. You're having some tachycardia. Your blood pressure's high. Were you dealing with any distension in your abdomen?
Not yet. Oh no, that's coming here. So other than that, no, no, like I'm still gaining weight at this time because I'm still eating food.
You're still eating, yeah.
But and even though I'd gotten down to 235, now I'm back up to 290. And I went back to I gained like 60 pounds in 3 years. So
your poor body.
It was,
and your brain.
Yeah, I was going through a lot. And that was the first time my doctor wrote me a thing to go to a different couple of places, and he said he was not an addiction doctor and it's not something he could deal with. Because alcoholism is very difficult to deal with.
Yeah.
And that is something, like I've, thank you everybody that works in that environment, because I know you see more failures than you do successes. That's and that's got to be hard.
Yeah.
But it is also great to be a success and like see the joy that you bring to others by not drinking, by the way. So sorry about a little segue. At that time, my doctor had written me, it's really not, it's just a referral, right? For insurance purposes, right? And so I go to the Betty Ford Clinic, and because the two places he gave me were the Cedar Hills Clinic, and then the Betty Ford one. Now, because of my broken perception of all of this still, I went to the Cedar Hills Clinic and I filled out the intake stuff, and I was looking at the people in there and I thought, this isn't for me. Like, these are all fucking losers. Like, I work in high tech. I'm like so much better than them. Their life won't equate to what I have. I need an experience with a place that is going to have people like me, right? By the way, hint, that's a bad idea. they are you.
Ego's a wild thing. Ego's a wild thing.
It is. Yeah. And I went to Betty Ford. I was trying to quit drinking at that point. So I was dabbling with quitting, but I'm having arguments with the staff, like, 'cause they want a drug test, right? So I'm not drinking alcohol, but I'm still doing coke, and I don't want a drug test. It's like, I'm here on my will. Why do I have to drug test? Well, because we need to keep you accountable. And if you're not being accountable to yourself, you're not going to be successful, and we really want you to be successful.
Yeah.
Right? And it's like, no, I just want to come here for the counseling. That's not the way this works.
Yeah.
Right? So of course I failed drug tests, and I'm like, well, I'm not going to make excuses. They're like, yeah, I'm just still doing coke. And they're like, if you're going to continue to do coke, you can't be here.
Yeah.
Because you're going to be disruptive to everybody else that is trying, right? I also realized at that time that I wasn't ready to quit. I wasn't at rock bottom.
Yeah.
And so I relapsed and then quit again, relapsed multiple times to a point where my ex said, if you ever drink again, I'm moving out, because things are really getting bad at home at this point. And for my son.
Are you working any recovery programs while you're relapsing of any kind? I don't just mean 12-step, but like, are you doing any self-help recovery? Are you doing any smart recovery? Any traditional?
Nothing. Basically going on anti-abuse.
You were on anti-abuse?
Yeah, yeah.
Did you ever drink on anti-abuse?
No, I never did. It was just really funny because when I was drinking, I'd wake up every day and vomit, so it's not really too different.
So for those of you that don't know, anti-abuse is something you can take that creates a physical reaction to drinking alcohol, namely you'll get red, flush, and you'll very likely be sick to your stomach and puke. I remember it was when I was struggling to get even a day sober, my drug and alcohol counselor said, listen, maybe we try anti-abuse. And the reason I said no, the main reason was that I was so afraid that I would drink anyway and just be sick.
Yeah.
And I just wasn't even convinced that the threat of abject illness was going to stop me, so I wouldn't do it. And / I wasn't ready, I suppose. But
yeah, I was ready but not ready. So the anti-abuse helped, and
it bought you some time.
It did. Well, it had this. It bought some time, but it also sent me down this path that I could not have ever predicted, which is after. So I also was in a place with my job where I took FMLA.
What's that?
Family Medical Leave of Absence.
Got it.
So at my job, they have a disability thing, and it's not just free to anybody. You have to be approved for it. And part of that approval process is going to a doctor, and they have to agree, and you have to basically kind of be in a program, and the insurance is checking with that doctor every week. Like, is he following through?
Yeah.
Is he doing the steps, right?
Yeah.
So I get on that program, I get a really good doctor who's also a former alcoholic, and I start the program. I'm worried about withdrawals, of course, at the same time, and so I'm on medications to help with that. And at this point, my ex has moved out, so it's just me living by myself now. And now there's no accountability at home, which is also kind of scary, but I also needed that to have a break from the constant feel of being judged. Yeah. Right? So unfortunately, I had wrecked myself so bad with alcohol at this point, and I'd also been drinking a lot of wine and not eating very well. And I was not dealing with my depression, which I wasn't even aware that I truly had at that point. And I stopped eating. And I didn't eat for about 3 weeks. And
Zero.
I was
just drinking.
No, I was sober. I was sober, but I was just depressed.
Wow.
And
were you drinking obviously water?
I was drinking anti-abuse. Yeah, I was drinking water. Yeah, I was drinking water just fine. And taking my medications every day.
So you're fasting.
And just thinking that I need to get through this. And then also, the divorce papers come.
Yeah.
And everything, my life is just kind of falling apart.
Sounds dark and terrible, man.
It was. And I was alone. I'm just absolutely alone. I have friends reaching out to me, but I'm not responding.
Yeah.
And
we tend to not respond when we're not doing well.
Isolation is a big indicator.
Yeah.
And so the depression, actually, you just check out. But then I had a moment where something seemed off with my body, because I realized that I hadn't drank in 3 weeks. Ate. Or drank, because they happened at the same time. I quit drinking and I quit eating all at the same time, because you're sick the first couple of days anyway.
Yeah.
basically had a diabetic ketoacidosis.
Wow.
So DKA, and you can get this with alcohol too. In fact, that's what they thought it was initially, is that I was drinking again. But your blood becomes acidic. My pancreas isn't processing properly. Diabetes runs in my family, so having type 2 makes sense, especially with the way that I treated my body.
Right.
But because I had not eaten in 3 weeks and my pancreas doesn't function properly, I all of a sudden realized that, holy shit, I haven't eaten in 3 weeks. And I drank a protein shake, Soylent Green, if you can remember, those were Soylent Green. Those were popular shakes at the time.
Yeah.
And I drank one of those and then immediately started vomiting.
Right.
And I suddenly could not get enough water. And I lost the ability to walk.
Oh my God.
And I then started to lose my vision, and I didn't know what was happening. And through just dumb luck, I was able to get my cell phone to call 911. It was a terrifying couple days,
Yeah.
but went to the hospital, and I was in the hospital for about 10 days.
Wow.
They did not know why I lost my vision.
It hadn't come back yet?
No, it didn't come back for, so when I say I lost my vision, it wasn't that I was blind, it was that my eyes couldn't focus and they weren't working together. So everything was just a blur mess. Like I couldn't read a clock. I had no balance. I would wobble around.
It must have been so scary.
It was.
It sounds so scary.
But in that time in the hospital, I made the mistake of telling them that I didn't want to live anymore. And that I didn't want them to contact anybody. And I said, and I do not want to be resuscitated. I want to die. And I was done. I didn't want to live anymore. And when you do that, you become a ward of the state. I didn't know that at the time, but it also means that they go through a bunch of policies where they don't allow outside interaction. They won't tell anybody you're in the hospital. So you isolate more. And now you're in a strange environment. They're waking me up constantly to put needles in my arm, take my blood because of what happened. And I didn't even realize what had happened at the time, but I had 2 heart attacks while I was in the hospital. So sometimes I'd black out and wake up and I'd be on this machine and someone's yelling, Chris, take a deep breath, we need to get an x-ray. And I was terrified.
Yeah.
And I was so terrified, I stopped sleeping. Because I thought every time I moved or every time I was waking up in a new place, new faces, my brain is messed up from the DKA. I can't see clearly. So I'm trying to move my head to see people, but my speech is also incoherent. I only know this from after the fact. But I convinced a nurse because I was having a psychotic breakdown and I didn't know. The doctors knew. But I basically hit full schizophrenia.
Oh my God.
I'm like, my whole universe is being imagined, and I was terrified. And I fortunately got out of that situation and got a lot of support from some key people, namely my sister, Stevie, who helped bring me home because the doctors were like, you can't go home alone because you can't take care of yourself.
Yeah.
You can't inject the insulin that you need. You can't, so I got someone to come stay with me. So Stevie came to stay with me for a while, and things were getting better. I was on path to recovery, still on my FMLA, but now I can say it's for the DKA event and not for the alcoholism.
And how long has it been since you drank at this point?
So this point, it's probably been 2 months.
So 2 months no drinking. You just went through an incredibly traumatic experience, mentally and physically. By the way, I can't imagine. I'm someone who's just hypersensitive to everything I guess you're describing, but when it comes to environment change, physical changes, mental health changes, having been through my own treatment-resistant depression, suicidality, I've been locked up in
depression.
Yeah, I've been in psych wards, and I know my own version of scary places, and I'm very sensitive, and so I hear your story and I hear this part of it, and it breaks my heart and it frightens me, to be honest. It's one of those things that I think you're helping me stay sober by sharing your story, because I don't think I'm immune from progression of this sort. When I was drinking, it was getting worse. The longer I stayed out there, my behavior was getting weirder. My body was struggling more. So thank you for sharing that. I'm so sorry you went through that. So you're a couple months sober, but I know
it's coming back.
It's coming back, which is just so fucking insane. Let's get to that
next
and then
spot.
I'd love to leave some time for the last couple of years, right?
Yeah.
I want to make sure that we give breath to what your life is like now.
So, while I had a brief moment of positive things in my life, I wasn't. I did also at the time start going to. I went to the Cedar Hills Clinic. So now I got back to a point where I can drive. So now once I got past not having my vision. So it took a few months. So at this point, I'd been sober for I think probably like 6 or 7 months. And I knew that I still needed like professional help with therapy.
Yeah.
And because I was still super depressed.
Yeah.
And now I'm not doing any drugs or anything. So it's just manifesting in god awful ways. The way you feel is worse than being hungover.
Right.
And but I started going to this therapy, and it just opens my eyes. And everybody could tell, like, I talk a lot because I process through talking.
Yeah, you
and I was not talking at all in these group therapy sessions. But what I was doing was listening. And over a short period of time, I realized, like, holy shit, all of these people are hurting, just like I am. Like they're all like saying the same things that I'm feeling, and there's no point in me even talking because they're already saying it.
Yeah.
But the reason they're there is nothing like mine.
Yeah.
Right. But it's still they're here, and I just had this realization of like what that meant, and things started to go like really good, and I really liked the counselor. And like I was engaged with everything, and then the counselor suddenly has to go to something new, and she's gone, and I immediately had a trigger into that abandonment thing. I can't do this. Like, I need you to be here.
Yeah.
Like, you're the reason. No, you're the reason, Chris. Like, you do really good. You show up here all the time. And the new person came in. I never gave that motherfucker a chance.
Yeah.
I did nothing but negativity towards him. It's not even his fault. It's just like I was hurting again.
Yeah.
So I stopped going. I'm still off of work because I'm on an FMLA, which was like great. But the sad reality was all of that negativity that was going on led to a place where I relapsed. And when I relapsed, it was the last relapse. And I knew at the time. I remember buying the bottle and like having that like detached feeling of my body is doing this thing, and I'm just watching it, and I'm like, I can't stop it.
Dude, exactly.
It's just happening.
But that feeling haunts me.
Yeah.
It scares me into recovery action every day so much because I've tried to explain that to people who are like, I don't even know what's going on. I feel like a zombie. I'm just there and I'm doing it and I can't stop it. It's the worst. And there's so much at stake.
That is the moment when I realized that who I am now, because who I am now has always been here.
Yeah.
But that was the moment that he walked away, and I lost myself to it. And I just started drinking a lot, and I didn't want to live anymore. And tried killing myself a couple of times. Like I tried to hang myself, but I'm so fucking heavy that it broke. So and I didn't want to be awake anymore. I didn't want to deal with being alive, but I also knew like I had these weird rules, like I won't drive. Right, like I won't drive if I'm drinking.
Yeah.
Like I don't know why, but like I just had those bare minimum structures. So it's basically pass out, wake up in the morning. What time is it? Okay, liquor store's open. Drive in there, buy 10 bottles of liquor. If I had been broke at the time, like if I hadn't had like savings and reserves, which it was enabling me to be in that state. And it always blew my mind because in this period of time, over a 2-year period, I basically did nothing but wake up, drink, pass out, wake up, drink, pass out, probably going through 2 to 3 fifths a day.
So for those of you that don't have the math on that, he's going through roughly 40 to 60 standard drinks a day.
Yeah, yeah. What's that? That's 1,500. It's 2 liters. It's over 2 liters of whiskey, of high alcohol, 80 proof whiskey.
I'm convinced beyond a shadow of a doubt that one of the reasons my disease hadn't progressed as far as where yours did, and forgive me if you don't see it as a disease model, alcoholism, the drinking, whatever suits you there, is because Jessie, my wife, hadn't left me yet. I just recently found out that she was this close. I mean, recently, within a couple of weeks ago, this close. But she tethered some sort of behavior that kept my addiction, while it was progressing, it kept it from going full bonkers. The one weekend that she left me, I doubled my consumption like that.
Yep.
I'm convinced that saved me and or prolonged me. It's like death by a thousand cuts, or what sounds like a free fall out of a plane of addiction. But I relate to it, and I relate to it to the capacity that I can. I used to have this fantasy, and then I want to hear the rest of your story, where when I decided I wasn't going to be able to get sober, and I really did decide, I was talking to Chase right over there, I looked him in the eye and said, like, I can't stop drinking, and I don't think I'll ever be able to stop drinking.
Yep.
I thought about leaving Jessie to set her free, because I felt so guilty. I was like, I should just set her free. This poor girl, is what I thought. And I imagined I was just going to move to the coast and get a small place and disappear. And that's just where I would go. I would just go there to drink.
But you wanted to live. That's the unique thing.
It was the craziest thing, though, because it's like I had my real me just begging for help, and then the addiction was for sure at that moment way stronger, and I felt lost and trapped in like an echo chamber.
Yep.
The isolation. So okay, you're now drinking 30 to 40 standard drinks a day. You're waking up. You're living that life. You're depressed. You're having suicide attempts. It sounds like hell on earth, Chris.
Yeah. And every day, well, it's light out. I hate it.
Yeah.
And like I have all my windows in my bedroom locked up. I have.
Are people checking on you?
I won't let them. Cops are coming occasionally, doing health and wellness checks, and when they come, of course, I do respond to those, because otherwise they're gonna fucking kick the door in. Is the way I felt. I also have, because of my past, I have high PTSD for trauma, and so I have a constant state, even now, of a feeling of someone's trying to hurt me, and that creates hypervigilance. So my anxiety can get really bad.
Yeah.
And alcohol like amplifies it. But
So take us to
so to the finish line is once again.
So you started to notice.
Yeah. So I'm moving around, and it feels like when you go like this, it feels like there's liquid moving the other side, and it feels weird. And I didn't know really what was going on, but also didn't care. And I was like, I think I know what this is. I'm like, I think my liver's quitting, because I'm not eating food, and
When you say you're not eating food, be specific.
I'm not eating food.
You're just drinking.
I'm just drinking.
Not even like a granola bar.
No.
For how long?
Months.
Months of not actually.
So I think in this is why in the pictures I look the way I do. So the part of the reason I'm not eating is because when I would eat, it just immediately vomit.
Oh.
So any nutrition that I'm getting is just coming purely from that. But I was also mixing wine in with the alcohol, or with the whiskey, because in my stupid ass head, I thought, well, at least I can get some usable calories from this, the sugars. Right?
So yeah, wine's crushed.
but the thing is that very rapidly at this point, my waist is starting to get big.
It starts distending.
But my wrists and my face is so crazy, because I didn't even see it at the time.
Yeah.
I'm dropping into hell, and my body is giving up, and I'm but on my way to death. And this goes on for 18 months. It was at that point, like, I had asked my mom, my dad, my siblings, everybody, I don't know where I'm going to live. I need help. My friends, nobody wants an alcoholic in their house. Not after the way I treated them.
Yeah.
And like, it's too much of a risk, and I understand that now. So I had nobody. So I was just like, well, I guess I'll be living on the streets. And I had one person, my mentor, from way back when. He made me an offer. He said, listen, you know, you can move into this 12 by 20 shed in my backyard. It's heated and cooled, and it has electricity. I don't want you coming in the house where my family is, but I'll get a porta potty, and you can walk out to the porta potty and use it, and you can come in and take a shower from 11 p.m. at night, between 11 p.m. and 1 a.m.
But you're still
right?
drinking.
So part of the agreement was I had to quit drinking. Like, I could not continue to drink there, and that he would control all of anything that was coming in to consume. So I basically gave up my freedoms. And it's like, and it would cost me nothing. Like, I could live there for at least for a minute. Like, I could live there for up to a year to get back on my feet. But his rules were no drinking. You have to get health care, because at this point, by the way, I also lost my job. No surprise, I just quit. FMLA ran out, and I was incapable of even doing anything about it.
Right.
But I had reserve money, so who cares, right?
Yeah, fuck it.
And I didn't plan on living anyway, so why do I need a job?
Yeah.
So it was no drinking. He controls what comes in, and I had to get health care, and every day I was going to have to walk with him to start moving around again.
Yeah.
So at this point, I have a 78-inch waist, and completely distended. It's my whole body's just in constant pain. I have no strength, completely muscle wasted away from not getting out of bed for multiple years, for 2 years. And I started on a path of recovery here. And
Did you have to go to the hospital?
so I got health care through OHP, and this is at the same time, by the way, COVID hits. So this actually works out really well for me, because healthcare is very easy to get suddenly, and it costs nothing. Plus they give you rides to appointments, etc. And that was when I went in and got the testing, and come to find out that I have psoriasis of the liver, or cirrhosis. Sorry, not psoriasis.
Yeah, I knew you
cirrhosis. My bad. It's pretty. There's two sizable lesions, and the doctor is looking at me, and he's like, you also have bad ascites. He's like, your skin is jaundiced. He's like, you're yellow. He's like, I'm not even sure you're gonna make it through the end of the year right now if we don't get like things turned around. So you have to stop drinking. And I'm like, I stopped drinking, like it had been like a couple of weeks or whatever. And
what led you to surrender to trying again? Was it just the fact that you're going to be evicted?
I had no other choice.
Well, you did though.
No, you're right. It's funny, I always say you always have choice. Mark was the only person that I had left, and the fact that he was willing to take a chance on me, and he said that the time that he said it, because he had said no, like, he's like, why are you not doing anything? Why are you sitting there? And I'm like, I've just lost the will. And he's like, I don't understand it, but I can see it, and I know that this isn't you. And when he found out that my family, that nobody would take me in, he was just like, I can't let that happen. Like, I like this guy. Like, we've been friends for years.
So just his act of kindness was enough to spark just a little bit of light inside of you to change again?
Yes.
That's wild.
And when you think you have nothing and you've pushed everything away, and the end result was I was certainly going to die. And
were you having health anxiety when you were still at home drinking? Like, were you waking up afraid that something was about to give? Or
I was ready for it.
Okay. All right.
I was surprised I was still going. I didn't understand.
It's shocking.
Yeah. I'm not going to get into
it.
Like all of the stuff that was happening, your body, it's pretty bad. Like,
well, what didn't you share already?
Just like you're being stuff. Any alcoholic will actually know is your bowel movements, like when you don't eat and you just drink, they don't exist, and it's like liquid is just coming out of your body everywhere all the time. Yeah, that's not really necessary.
But, no, I mean, look, there's nothing wrong with sharing the ugly truth of what this can do.
Well, and the distension
It's just fluid buildup.
But it's also pushing on everything. So it's just like, it's very hard to sleep. You can only be on your side. It's hard to breathe. But I moved into that shed.
Yeah.
And it was slow going, but
But how did you withdraw? That's what I'm curious about. You were drinking so much, like you didn't just move into the shed. Did you have to go to an outpatient detox? Or inpatient detox?
In preparation for moving in to like not drink anymore, I had started to taper. Which I know this is very unusual, by the way. I don't suggest this for anybody.
No,
like to go through a professional clinic. Of
course.
I did not I had gone through it before, so I was familiar with the process, and I was fortunately in a state of mind to give it a shot, because I felt like I'd given up control and literally just gave it to my friend who was helping me.
Okay.
And
so
like
you worked your way
that.
down from 3 to 4 fifths down to nothing?
Yeah, I was
in the
drinking.
course of how much time? Just curious.
I don't know.
A week, 2 weeks, a month?
Yeah, probably. I would say probably about a month is when, because everything started in the end of July, and by the end of, and then so, yeah, okay. So actually, I guess I do know. Everything started at the end of July, and October 5th was my quit day, and that was the day that I got removed from my house.
So roughly 5 weeks-ish.
Yep. Doctors didn't think I'd make it to the end of the year. And I went in and they drained 27 liters of fluid off of my abdomen, which is a really crazy experience. They put this needle in there, there's machines, like, tick, 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 tick. But it goes down, and then when I sat up that first time, all your guts moved down, and I couldn't breathe. Like I could only breathe if I was laying backwards, but because of how everything changes. But I went back 2 more times. Each time they drained about 20 liters of fluid.
How many pounds of fluid are we talking about? 20 liters. And how many ounces a liter?
So I went on one of the visits. I think I worked it out to being like 8 pounds per, or I can't remember what it was, per liter. If I have pictures of those things, but well,
yeah, they're going to be on screen right now.
Oh yeah, just the bottles of stuff. But on one of my visits, I went from 245 pounds down to 203. And so that's like 40 pounds of fluid.
Wow.
Right? And that was a pretty eye-opening, like, holy crap, you can hold a lot of fluid.
All of this is eye-opening for holy crap, the body. Not everyone's, because there are a lot of people that don't get to talk about this, but the fact that your body could withstand that level of abuse.
Yeah, I'm a workhorse.
It's wild. And I've given my own body a lot of, like, because I'm currently healing from a stomach injury from drinking, some gastritis, maybe an ulcer, I have an endoscopy coming. We'll get it fixed. I'm going to do the right things I can now because I'm sober. And I'm thankful for my body for holding in there, but it's like what your body was able to survive is just mind-boggling.
It's astounding.
It's astounding.
Even more astounding is that at that point, I started. That's a good time. What time are we at?
12:43.
Okay, perfect. At that time, within 6 months of being out of there, going into, I'm not doing a recovery program. Once again, don't recommend that. But I am doing a recovery program in the sense that I have someone that trusts me, that checks in on me every day.
Yeah.
Makes me get out and walk.
Yeah.
We talk about things. And then I'm also working on getting therapy. And I'm also like making like grounds forward. Getting therapy is unfortunately very difficult, and it's an unfortunate thing about our system, but it is. It's just hard. And but I am going to my liver doctor the whole time, and
so taking care of yourself for the first time in a long time.
I'm getting lots of scans, but now I'm also thinking, like. I was thinking I'll never be able to exercise again or be in the shape that I was because I really fucked myself up. And I remember on one of my walks that I was doing when I still had the big stomach, there was a kid walking by and he's like, dude, look at that guy, he's pregnant, holy cow. And it's just like, wow, it's weird how much that hurts.
Okay.
Right.
Yeah.
And but
how are your thoughts and feelings coming back online? So we're talking a lot about your body.
They're
You've
coming.
been very descriptive of your emotions too, especially in your end of your addiction. How are we 6 months sober? and we're getting
Well,
better.
within that 6 months, I get a job. All of the things, now it'd been years since I'd done coding or anything, and I'm basically forcing myself to do things like, there's some online coding stuff like hacker ranking, to teach myself some stuff and just do some basic exercises to suddenly awaken that part of my brain that I hadn't used so long. And I enjoy those things.
Yeah.
And so I started to find joy in solving problems again. And I didn't feel like I was being attacked anymore, because I always, the constant state of feeling attacked, right?
Right.
And I go through some interviews. Don't get through some of the interviews because my, it had been so long. And even with my really great resume, not having worked for a couple of years kind of sticks out. Like,
Yeah.
what happened there? Well, I just thought I'd do my own thing. But I did get a job, and that job, once I got the job, I got an income. I got my own place and moved out of the shed, because living in a 12 by 20 shed with a window that's this big is rough. And like when you wake up at 2 o'clock in the morning and you have to piss, but you have to walk 100 feet outside to the porta potty. Not great, but super grateful.
I say the cost of your freedom.
Yeah, it was. And Mark, he saved my life. And I mean, he to like think about it from, just real quick on the side, like every day when I first moved in with them, he thought, I'm probably going to walk out there and he's going to be dead today. And that's not an easy thing for anybody to have to just accept. So, and I don't know if he can ever understand how powerful it was for me, for him to care about me that much. It's like, that's all any of us need, is someone like that you believe cares about you.
Believe cares about you.
Because they've got no reason to hurt you. And that's like, that kind of selfless act was what helped me feel like I have to give this a shot. But even then, I get the job. I'm doing pretty good at that job, but I also meet somebody there who's an alcoholic, and we just connect like immediately. And it's like, he literally, I'm not drinking. I still haven't drank since October 5th of 2020.
Would you say you were dry?
I was dry, but then everybody at this work also smoked weed, and so I was like, well, I like maybe that I'll do some of that. So I start smoking weed like at night, and I kind of just get in this routine of working and everything, but I'm finding no joy in anything. And I decide that I start to realize that I'm slipping back into depression, because I suddenly, like, my up was getting a job and making money, but I'm making like less than half of what I made before. And I also didn't want to have a job that was going to make me like super stressed, because I wasn't ready.
Right.
And that I felt the depression coming, because I got to a point where I didn't want to get out of bed anymore. And I knew that was that something was happening, and I was terrified of it.
Of course.
And I wasn't thinking about drinking, but I was also not thinking about drinking. I was feeling the same feelings of what it was to not want to be here anymore. And one morning I woke up and I'm literally paralyzed by it. It's taking every bit of power and control that I have to not go to the store and get alcohol.
Wow. This is when?
This would have been 2021.
A couple years ago.
Yeah. So God, I know, it's crazy, right? And I'm kind of like, I don't know what I'm going to do. And I started screaming, and I don't know, I was like, I don't really know what happened, but the way that I kind of see this now is, this is when Who You See Today showed up.
Interesting.
And I started screaming for help. Somebody help me. Somebody please fucking help me. And I just started screaming and screaming and screaming. And my cats are running away. They're like, what's fucking going on? And I sat for a moment and I thought, no one's ever going to come. I have to fucking help myself. I have to get the fuck out of this bed. I have to get some professional help, and I have to start making progress. And people are going to say no a lot, but I have to just keep pushing and trying.
Yeah.
And so I started calling crisis counselor lines to help me make a path. I'm going into work, and I'm really lucky that I just have a friend there who's helping me stay successful in that, even though I'm having some challenges with my manager at the time. But I had this
Are you still smoking weed?
So I was, but as part of this was I have to be sober.
Yeah.
I have to stop all of it, because one of the things I noticed with weed was I couldn't remember shit.
Yeah.
I couldn't learn, and my key ability as a human being is oftentimes I felt is my ability to adapt and learn to anything quickly. Maybe not be an expert, but I can certainly look at it and pick it up and grow. But weed takes that away from you, right? It just takes it away from you, plus it gives anxiety and whatever else. But so I talked to my doctor about that. I got into a program with my medical system to do drug testing, voluntary drug testing every 30 days, keeps me accountable. And it also helped with the medications that they wanted to start me on, stuff to help with anti-anxiety, stuff to help with depression, etc.
It sounds like your story is one of varying degrees of willingness to completely surrender to the fact that a life of substance abuse is not going to fix, mask, or heal the greater issue, and you're never going to realize your true authentic self, is what it sounds like.
Yeah.
Under that guise. I mean, I know that I'm constantly looking for similarities, and I'm finding so many in our stories.
We want a parallel.
Yeah, I'm finding so many similarities in your thinking process and your behavior patterns, and I can definitely recognize the same. Okay, it got really, really bad. I'm thinking about my own story. I'm going to do it a little bit different because I don't want it to hurt like that. But then I tend to regress back to my baser instincts, and then it starts hurting maybe worse. And then I get a little more willing, and then I regress and a little worse, and then I keep seeming to run my head into harder and more firmer ground, until, God willing, I hope this is my last getting sober experience, because
the Kaizen moment.
Yeah, I hope so. That's all I want.
Yeah.
That's all I want. And it sounds like that's what this certainly has the opportunity to be for you. And you're a couple of years there, which is so inspiring.
The getting the counseling. I had this combination of just friends and events and things that I did, and my willingness to stop feeling like I knew everything.
Yeah.
And my willingness to listen. And to really just listen, and to think about actions became more than just words and thoughts, but to really understand about how I am impacting people.
Yeah.
And then also, I think the biggest eye-opening moment for me was my therapist had said, I want you to get a book. It's called there's anytime thing is just something be like 10,000 questions about me. And he's like, start working through that. And I grabbed that book.
A book called 10,000 Questions About Me?
It's like 10,000 or 30,000 questions about me. You can find it.
30,000 questions?
It's literally just a book of just 100 or whatever, so many questions per page.
Yeah.
And it's just a question. You just try to answer it.
Interesting.
And you could write in a book, write in a journal, whatever you want.
Sure.
I couldn't make it through the first page of that because I didn't know anything about myself.
Yeah.
And I had this moment of holy shit, who am I?
Yeah.
Why have I been this way my whole life? Do I actually like this type of music, or do I just like it because that guy liked it and I like that guy?
I'm on that same tip right now.
Yeah, so
I'm willing to unlearn everything
Good.
To have the opportunity to get to know who I really am and what really inspires me, what motivates me, good or bad. I'm on a quest to learn.
Yep.
It's very important to me.
And this, the therapy helped me realize that I didn't know anything about who I was. And for the first time in my life, at 46, whatever years old, I realized I needed to start a relationship with myself and experience things. And all of a sudden I realized that literally everything about me or the way I viewed myself changed suddenly. Maybe outwardly to other people, they may not notice. It's like, I don't know, because my friend circle got very small.
Yeah.
But I discovered I like self-expression, which I never understood before. Because I discovered this confidence because I felt like I knew who I was. I changed my life to live by a value system.
Yeah.
So, what are my values? My values: I don't drink. I don't treat people unkindly. Whatever those were. So I set a set of values to live by. And I started to basically execute that plan, got back into meditation, and all of the things that we read about that everybody says it works. And I remember at one point my therapist said, tell me about the time when you were happiest in your life. And I suddenly occurred to me that the brief moment of just pure bliss and happiness that I had in my life was when I was working out nonstop, and the abilities that I was gaining from being really fat and not be able to do anything, to be able to do a pull up, even though it wasn't as strict, which I can do now. Yeah, but doing a kipping pull up, to learning how to do a clean and jerk. Yeah. These things were challenging, they were difficult, but you were immediately had results from it. And he's like, why don't you exercise now? And I'm like, well, I don't know. Maybe I should do that because it made me so happy. Yeah. And that's when I started speed walking every day. Start small, right? Because I had nothing. And I had a lot of issues from being, completely muscle wasted to everything that had happened. And also at this point, what's really great is nobody could believe it, but my ascites has gone away. It's not coming back.
Your what?
The ascites. So the doctors had really figured that I was going to be getting drained probably every 6 months. Okay. But instead, my body did a complete 180. Oh, yeah. When I started exercising, I remember my therapist said, if we could bottle up exercise into a pill, the impact on the body, we would wipe depression out overnight. Yeah. Because everything that you do when you exercise, it just heals you. It processes that, and it doesn't even have to be hard exercise. I do need hard exercise.
Yeah,
but,
I think
yeah. Well, because I need to get to a place where, and Chase has seen this sometimes. I work out so hard that I just start crying. I just need to go. I gotta process for a little bit. But it's if I don't exercise, I start to get sad. I start to get angry. It goes down a bad pathway. So exercise is critical, and it's part of my 4 pillars of happiness. And that's the exercise, sleep, food, and meditation.
Beautiful.
Like anytime I start to feel sad or angry, all I have to do is a quick check on those 4 things. I guarantee you I'm missing 1 or more, and I immediately try to go and do those things. Sometimes I'm not great at it, but I always work hard to get back into that place where I'm happy. The results of making all of the changes, discovering who I am, getting a relationship with myself that was positive that I'd never had before. Yeah. Enjoying what I saw in the mirror for the first time in my entire life because I didn't feel like a fat piece of garbage. I was engaging with my work. I'm having positive relationships with people, and it was all because of the work that I'd done in myself. Yeah. And so now I have a very solid structure around my life to be aware of the things that would take me down, right? Like, absolutely. I always, you have to stay ever vigilant with your happiness because you create it. And I work hard to create that every day. And then also in that time period, for the very first time in my entire life, I met someone, experienced like love in a way that I've never experienced it before. And like just raw attraction for each other, and this like it's such a mind-blowing experience. Yeah. And like I didn't think I would ever experience love, and I did, and that on top of and the only reason I did that, ended up having that experience, is purely because I made myself a better person for me first.
Yeah.
And when you're really happy with the way you look and you're happy with the way you feel, and you can self-express things, like, it's funny, like I paint my nails. I don't paint my nails for anybody else. I paint them for me because they literally, I just did it one day and it made me smile and laugh.
I love
and
that.
I'm like, I'm going to do shit that makes me smile and laugh all the time.
Yeah.
And that's what I do. What I also didn't know this was a really great statement to say, that I'm not a male chauvinistic pig.
True. It does tend to lend itself well to disarming that sort of thought process.
And it's attractive to some people. Like I get compliments on it all the time.
Yeah.
And I remember the first time I got one, I thought, well, I don't paint it for you. This is for me, buddy. You know. But I'm like, oh wait, I can also say, oh, thank you.
Absolutely. Yeah.
But my body, by the way, has completely reversed.
Amazing.
I'm no longer diabetic. I don't take drugs. I'm not on any sort of antidepressant, no anti-anxiety medications, completely free. I do take water pills every day, which is, it's just what they give you. They're just diuretics. I take it, they're very low dose, but when I don't take them, I do swell up a little bit.
I see. Is
So
this something you'll have to do for the rest of your life?
up to me.
Okay.
I probably don't need to. I just like the way I feel better when I have them. And
Sure.
it could just literally be that the reality is if I that my body would just, would level its water levels differently when not on them, but I've been on them long enough now that I stay on them. And I mean, I used to take like 10 of them a day, and now I only take one. So,
Awesome.
but my cirrhosis is like, some people it could possibly heal. Mine is not getting bigger, which is all we can do. The hardness of my liver has decreased a lot. It's not quite back to normal, probably never will be. And the other sad reality is that there's statistically a 50% chance that I'll die of liver cancer before age 65.
Wow.
Now those numbers may change, right? And my liver doctor, he's even said, he said, you should be like somebody who needs to, like, you could teach people how to change their diet and the way that they live to reverse stuff that, to be quite honest, I didn't think would ever come back from.
Yeah.
When he looks at the numbers and the scans and the blood work and all of the material that, from all of the testing, he said 6 months tops, 6 to 12 months maybe for anybody who comes in with this. At one point when I went to the hospital, my blood pressure was 210 over 108.
Wow.
So it's crazy, but your body can recover. And now I have abilities that I've never had before. I have relationships that are better than I've ever had before. And like, I feel amazing, like every single day. I still struggle every day. I still have challenges and conflict that I have to deal with, but I work hard to communicate the things that are making me unhappy in nonviolent ways, and to work hard to listen and to tell the people around me that, hey, if I do something that hurts your feelings, I want you to let me know.
Yeah.
And even if I don't agree with like what had happened, I will not disagree with the fact that you're feeling hurt by my action, and I need to apologize for that because I can adjust my behavior.
Yeah.
Right. So, and that's I guess that's about it. And then obviously ended up here training, because I actually came here because Alex, before I went dark into my deep alcoholism, he actually knew me before that.
Gotcha.
He'd been over to my house and had a couple parties and stuff.
Oh, wow.
But one of his old coaches was also an alcoholic, but he left and moved back to Wisconsin. But I came back here because it was something familiar, also close to work.
I remember the day you walked in.
I do too. Yeah. You like came out, hey, what can I do for you? And I was like, damn, that's a good looking man. No, but that started me on my path, and that's when I also realized that I needed personal training, because I really wanted to hit specific goals. Like I wanted to fix my back and learn how to do things properly.
Yeah.
for the first time, right?
Yeah.
And that's why that's like why I mostly do that, is because it gives me the most value for the dollar.
Yeah.
And it's just amazing. And then I got to meet you, and
Yeah.
and like it's been interesting to watch your story too. So
Thanks.
yeah.
Well, Chris, I'm blown away by your story. I think you have an incredible way of communicating your experiences. Just watching you tell your story and seeing the gambit of emotion, or the spectrum rather of emotion, that you've displayed so candidly for me and for everyone who's going to watch this is beautiful, and it matters, and it's inspiring. It's a little bit frightening, to be honest, but the fact that your story has the opportunity to end on, or continue rather, on such a positive, real note. No sugarcoating, no fluff. You've been through so much, and you've overcome it, and you're still here, and you're learning how to live life on life's terms. You're setting an incredible example for someone like me in early sobriety, and for people watching. I really do appreciate you sharing. I'm so sorry for all the pain that you've been through. It's hard to even imagine it, quite frankly, but I have no doubt that what we just did here is going to save someone's life, and I don't know what more we could ask for.
That's it's an interesting thing to think, because I know you've said that to me a lot, like this could save someone's life.
It just can.
And the only thing I could think in my mind is I can't save anybody's life. They have to save their own. And I just hope that everybody gets to that moment where they realize that they're the only ones in control. And no one's going to save you or make the choice to go down a better path. Like, that is reserved for you alone. People can give you opportunities, but it's like you have to do you. You have to be accountable for yourself first, and want it. And it's like, I just hope that everybody finds that path.
Yeah,
because it's not easy.
And I think hearing stories like yours can be a spark in the darkness, is what I mean. It can be a whisper in the vast, destructive sound of pain and despair, that everything can be different.
That voice is very loud, and it never goes away.
Yeah. So guys, thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this video and you connected to it, or you know someone you think will connect with it, please share this video, comment on it, like it. I rarely mention to do those things, but that's exactly what can help more people see it. That is our only motivation for making this video. Please, in the comments, shower Chris with positivity for taking time out of his life to be so vulnerable and share very, very personal things. As someone who tends to do that on here, I understand that it's not necessarily common, and it's certainly not easy for everyone to do. And thank you for taking time out of your day. If you need help, please go get it. And if you're doing well, maybe see how you might be able to make someone's life just a little bit better. And we'll see you guys in the next video.
Bye.
All right. Good job. I am stiff as a freaking gooseneck.
Yeah, I'm a little bit in there.